Hello everyone, this is part 45 of What If Naruto Had the Ultimate Dojutsu, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Beings murmured to each other as they listened to Nura's report. The Dragon Lord kneeled before Kami while she continued to listen to his words. And I still haven't found Sato at this point, but I have a lead at least. There are people in the far north in place known as a Megakure that claim to say that there is a person that they call God there. He watches over them along with his supposed angel. I thought to inform you before I took the time to figure it out. Those damn insects. Trampling over the very name of your highness. I should just K them all right. No. Nura stopped as Kami raised her hand for him to be silent. Nura immediately stopped his voice and withdrew an angry breath from his lips. Nura, it is bound to happen in all places where my name is to be used. You have no control over that. As I told you, I still want you to find Sato. He's a danger to the world, especially knowing his pride and his power with the Raijin by his side, Kami said, and Nura bowed a little lower, acknowledging her words. He wanted to refute the earlier saying, but didn't have the standing to try to. I understand that, but he's been rather quiet and I haven't made the progress of seeing him since my capture. You were gracious enough to provide me with a description from the last time you had seen him. I can't say that I share in the sentiments, but I do understand Kami-sama. However, I have a question, Nura said, and Kami nodded, allowing him to proceed. The various other warriors, advisors, and participants glanced to each other and wondered what Nura actually had to say. What would you have me do about Kyubi? You know what she is, and there are 8 others just like her. The product of that man's stolen power from us. After I deal with Sato, I will make it my own personal mission to end her also. It's not like that F-bag human that protects her could try to stop me. I've been alive since before his existence. If he thinks he can beat me, then I'd like to see him try, Nura said with a very agitated growl of his vocals. Kami rested one of her arms on her armrest and closed her eyes. She never wished for this. All of this had happened from her weakness. Opening her eyes, Kami shifted her head to the far right. And what would you think? Kami asked some of the other light-robed beings. One of them straightened his voice. Kami-sama, with all due respect, we don't agree with Nura. He's allowing his personal prejudice for the Rikido Sennin to cloud his judgment. He needs to stop these personal vendettas that he has no business in and let things run the course. We've always watched, only helping in the times of great need. Kami, you know for sure, don't you? We all fought during the First and Second Light War well over 10 millennia ago. It wouldn't do us a justice to go against humans now, one of them said, and Kami honestly agreed. Nura, however, wasn't satisfied with what he had just heard and stood to his feet. Are you saying that we continue to let them make a mockery of us? Exclamation mark. They use our techniques all because of that bastard who was able to learn in through unknown means. He stole from our place, our lives, our lifestyle. These insects know nothing of respect for the ones higher than them. They don't know the power of essence. This bastardized version that they call chakra and yoki, it's all nothing but a fake. I have more respect for my history than they ever will. Nura hollered, getting people silent until a person patted his shoulder. Nura, remember where you are. This isn't the place that you will raise your voice. Do not dishonor yourself with anger. It's a moot point. Calm down or leave, one of Nura's best friend, Tai, said to him. Nura just grumbled and bowed to Kami for her forgiveness, which she readily gave since she wanted all opinions to a matter heard before her. Are there any more issues? Kami asked, and no one shook their heads. They were all ready to leave before everyone felt a wave of power signatures from behind the front door. They all glanced to it, and Nura widened his eyes to this familiar presence. The large white door opened and everyone was greeted to the sight of Naruto, Kyubi, Nanabe, Nibi, Kasumi, and Kushina coming through the door. Naruto narrowed his eyes at everyone before he walked with as much pride as he could. His Hokage cloak flapped while everyone took in his appearance. Their eyes never left his face nor his companions. Nura growled lowly and Naruto took in his appearance, but ignored it. He looked left and right at the many beings who flooded the main hall. He then turned his head and looked up a small flight of white stairs to see a lovely woman in front of him looking at him with much curiosity. Her eyes showed no hostile intent and only worry. For what to worry about, well, Naruto didn't know, but he had to get closer to find out. Naruto quickly continued his walking with the others following into step behind him. Kyuubi and her sisters glanced at the many people around them. Some of them they had actually K and Y was more of a reason than anything else. Nibi snorted at some of their looks of aggression, as did Nanabi. Kushina seemed to handle it all as she kept her hands just inches from her blade at all times, ready for whatever strike to try and assault her son, but to her surprise no one moved. They all seemed too surprised to actually try to do anything, which sort of comforted Kushina, but she still had to remember that this was, for lack of a worse term, the worst situation to be in at the moment. Kasumi just kept close to Naruto as they walked down the seemingly long walkway. She seemed rather intimidated by the glares, but the power exuding from Naruto seemed to cover her body in a warm coat of protection that made her feel a little more at ease. As they walked, Naruto raised his hand for the others to stop. All did readily, but were confused as to why they were told to do so. They stopped in the middle of the room as Naruto continued on. Naruto-sama, Kasumi said with a slight shiver as she pulled against Kushina's jacket. Kushina just smiled at patted Kasumi's head as her tail wagged left and right. Naruto continued on and was just a little more in front of the steps until he noticed Tai step between him. Who are you and what are you? Tai didn't get to finish as Naruto surprised everyone as he easily passed him in a blur of speed. Naruto continued in his step while Tai widened his eyes. He turned his head and some people murmured about Naruto's speed and the shock that came with it. Kami narrowed her eyes at the newcomer. She had to admit that he wasn't bad looking. She also realized that he is human, well, for some reason mostly. There was something about him. Maybe it was her imagination, but the way he carried himself. It was the way that Nura could carry himself if he so needed to. Naruto stopped at the stairs and took a glance at Nura, who was still knelt down in front of Kami. The two exchanged a heated glare and Nura was doing everything in his power to not seem surprised by the blonde suddenly coming to the place where no, and he meant no, human had ever come before. The two broke the stare and Naruto glanced up to see Kami's interested eyes on him. He suddenly smirked and folded his arms. I take it you're Kami-sama. Wow, you really are beautiful, Naruto said suddenly with a gentle smile on his face. It seemed that statement triggered everything as one of Nura's most elite charged at the blonde. What is a human doing here? You will be vanquished. You are in the most sacred place of this dimension. He shouted as Naruto had to admit that the speed this guy had on him was just outstanding. If not for him discreetly using his Sharingan, then he might not have actually seen him move. However, that proved to be wrong as the light being swung his sword only for more than a good majority of subjects to be surprised at Kushina's blazing speed. She zipped close to Naruto and blocked the strike as Naruto knew his mother would. The two clashed together and the warrior snarled at Kushina while her cold eyes glare at him. I am Reza, third-ranked light warrior under Nura-sama. Who be you? He asked. I am Kushina Uzumaki, head Anbu commander of Konohagakure no Sato under the Rokudaime Hokage, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Kushina replied and, pushing her sword forward, managed to flip Reza's weight off her body, getting a backflip from him. All other warriors were ready to move and ease the intruders into the sacred meeting place of Kami before they stopped from her hand. Don't hurt them, she said, and people glanced to her, gawking at her sudden refusal. But Kami-sama, one of the warriors stuttered as Kami got to her feet. She walked down the staircase as Nura decided that the meeting was one hold, so he stood to his feet and glared hatefully at Naruto, but the blonde didn't seem to notice, and even if he did then he wouldn't have cared in the slightest. He saw Kami slowly descend the stairs in front of her before she stood before Naruto. As the blonde thought, she was taller than him, basically Kyuubi's height. She had a very melodious voice from what he had heard from her before she had started descending. For some reason, Naruto couldn't take his eyes off her appearance. The white clothing that she was just complemented her form in some otherworldly way. Her long silver hair and the blue eyes that looked just like his. Right down to her see, it was amazing. Oh god, now he was just being weird. Sorry for the rude welcome, however we are well within our rights to be surprised as it has never been doented that a more a human has ever come here before. No one has ever found us before. So, might I ask who you are and how did you get here? Kami asked politely. Naruto just returned her politeness and gave a short bow. Yeah, sorry about that. Didn't mean to interrupt anything important. I would guess that the most powerful being in the universe would be busy. Well, as for who I am, Naruto pointed to himself and gave his widest smirk. You can call me Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Rokudaime Hokage of Konoha, Naruto answered, and Kami just blinked before she slowly nodded. And as for how we got here, well, I do believe that these are formally yours, Naruto said, and beings inched closer to Naruto and his group. Kyuubi, Nanabe and Nibi brought Kasumi closer to Naruto, seeing that it was safe. Naruto grabbed his 5 swords and held them in his hands. And we had a little help from Kasumi-chan, who carries Tsukasa, or as you might know her, the light, Naruto said as he could see the reactions of people pale at his words. One of the people inched closer to the swords and touched it. No doubt, that was Sato-sama's sword, Reiga. The blades of the children are all here. We now have them. One of them said as they took the swords from Naruto's hands. However, as happy as they were to be back in a place of familiar setting, Reiga, Fukun, Sira, Tyron and Yugisa didn't take kindly to be handled by anyone that they didn't deem worthy. So on that note, everyone sent a jolt of pain to the man's arm as he dropped him to the ground. What is the meaning of this? Human, what have you done? He asked as Naruto picked up his sword and placed them back into his special places around his body. They don't do that to me. Guess they don't like being handled by those who they don't know. Shouldn't go touching people's things, Naruto said like it was a fact, and some of the people growled while others turned to Kasumi. This creature houses the light. Incredible, how do we get it out of it though? Someone asked, and Kasumi narrowed her eyes. Naruto glanced back at some of them before a loud S came across the hall. Kushina and Kyuubi narrowed their eyes while Nanabe and Nibi seemed surprised. Kasumi gasped as Tai had come to her defense and S an advisor across the face. Tai, why did you hit me? The advisor asked while Tai withdrew his hand. Sorry about that. I just thought I heard a talk about extracting something from this young woman. If you all remember, then that shouldn't be possible. As doing so would kill her now, Tai said, getting people to widen their eyes. Naruto glared at Tai while others asked him to explain. Tai smiled and glanced towards Kasumi. I could feel, Tsukasa. Yeah, Tsukasa's power. Somehow she was forced from you and she is no longer in you without a seal, right? Tai asked, and Kasumi nodded hesitantly. And just how would you know that? Kanari asked Tai, getting a grin from the young man. Oh, it's just something that I was able to pick up. After all, Kyuubi-san, Tai glared while he dropped his hand to his sword. You know just how resourceful I can be. Kyuubi narrowed her eyes and nodded. That's right, she knew Tai, and to this day she still hated him with a passion, as did Nibi and Nanabe. They all had run-ins with Tai before, and he was just as exceptional as Nura in the ways of Kenjutsu, but behind that calm personality and heartwarming smile laid a very creative mind and something of a domineering streak. The work of a sadist. Well then, how about you show me how resourceful you can be if you try to think that you'll get away with anything here, Naruto told him, and Tai turned back to the blonde Hokage, seeing his intense glare. Ara, forgive me, Hokage-san. I meant no disrespect to you or your concubines. Just forgive my talk. You are our most honored guests, Tai said with a grin before he bowed to Kami and quickly left. Naruto could practically feel the power radiating off of Tai, and it felt like he was an even more powerful than the Taki leader that Naruto had faced in the Konoha Taki War. Not really someone that Naruto would trifle with, at least so long as he stayed on his toes. He didn't know whether to be insulted at the lack of respect or the fact that his partners were called concubines. Please don't mind Tai. He's sort of a weird one. But you should leave this instant. You and your kind have no place here, Nura said, and with a huff of his voice spun on his heel and walked out of one of the side doors. Nura didn't have to turn around to feel Kyuubi's glare of anger at him before his presence but disappeared from their senses. Alright everyone, let's give our guests some space. You all must be tired. I'll have some attendants take you to your rooms. We have the space, Kami said, and everyone did feel a little tired and no one was in the real mood to just up and leave. So yeah, they could stay for at least the night. Then we'll take you on your offer. We're grateful, I guess, Naruto said with a bow, and Kami nodded before she took a look at Kyuubi. It was almost like looking in a mirror, only Kyubi had red hair, eyes, and dark clothes. Both came together and watched as attendants came to retrieve Naruto and the others to their rooms. Seeing that they were far enough away, the two beings spoke. So is he really gone? Kami asked while Kyubi narrowed her eyes in front of her. I normally wouldn't have anything to say to you of all people. Her most powerful being or not, I could care less. That's right. To-san is gone. It's probably what you and everyone else wanted. So yeah, you don't have to worry anymore. He's really S. Also, just because you're my grandmother, don't think that we're going to have anything but a strictly professional relationship. Nanabe and Nibi might not mind, but what you did will never leave my mind. Now I'd better catch up to the others before they notice I'm gone. Bye, Kyubi said before walking forward, leaving Kami alone. The female being sighed sadly and looked at the ground. She touched the crescent moon necklace around her neck before she treaded after them, though with not as much mirth as the last time. Back in Konohagakure. Boo. Now you see me, now you don't. Peekaboo, I see you, Yugao said as people gave amused chuckles at watching an Anbu, one of Konoha's elite K, entertain a giggling Yuna in her cradle. Yuna giggled at Yugao's antics while Yugao picked her up and tickled her stomach. Yuna laughed and Yugao did also before the purple-haired Anbu abruptly stopped. She noticed Yuna yawn and close her eyes. Yugao nodded and picked up Yuna. All right, time for you to go to sleep, Yuna-chan, Yugao said, placing her back in the cradle. Oh, you're still up. Yugao turned to the voice and she noticed Tsume coming down the stairs. The UNI matriarch was wearing a simple robe as she turned the lights down low since most of the compound had been sleeping at this late hour. Tsume couldn't fall asleep worrying about Naruto and his little trip. It had waned on her feelings that her mate was somewhere that she couldn't reach him. Tsume-sama, you're up also. I was just putting Yuna-chan back to sleep. I'm used to staying up this late is all, Yugao said, and Tsume just nodded while sitting near the couch. She took a look at Yuna and brushed a finger over the baby's soft skin. Tsume smiled as one of Yuna's hands opened and grabbed Tsume's fingers while she slept peacefully. Tsume-sama, if you don't mind me asking, then can I just say that over the past few weeks I've noticed your behavior. Why are you keeping Naruto-kun at arm's length like you are? Yugao asked, and Tsume's smile quickly turned into a frown. Tsume sighed and leaned back into the chair. So you noticed that. Guess I can't completely fool an Anbu. It's not that I have tried to. Honestly, that's not it, it's just. Tsume paused and placed her hand on her stomach. Yugao widened her eyes and jumped up. Tsume-sama, are you also? Yugao asked, and Tsume took a look at where her hand was placed before she rolled her eyes. Of course I'm not. Man, don't be ridiculous. Though sometimes I would like nothing more than for Kiba and Hana to have another little sister or brother, but Naruto is quite busy. Some of us hardly get to see him as it is. You get to because you're an Anbu and you're stationed. I have missions all the well and so does everyone else. I just like to be more hands-on, I guess, Tsume stated, getting another nod from Yugao while the Anbu captain placed one leg over the other and positioned her chin into her hands as she leaned forward. I guess I know what you mean. I love Naruto-kun a lot, but I haven't taken any steps because, well, I'm scared. I mean, out of everyone I've known him the least. Man, even Kurenai and Anko know him. Tayuya-san and Yugito-san know him more intimately. Sometimes I have wondered if it's alright for me to be in this clan with such wishy-washy feelings, Yugao said, giving a heavy sigh of her lips. Tsume leaned against the couch and shrugged her shoulders. If we weren't in the same situation right now, then I would say that you weren't worthy of Naruto-kun. Honestly, you think you're different. Lots of us haven't gotten him. Nana-san and Ni-san talked about wanting the same thing that Fu and Yugito got. Haku-san is a little more reserved in her intimacy. Kurenai sometimes wonders if she's made the right choice in a man younger than her. However, if you'll see, Naruto-kun's not rushing anyone. I'm sure if the Mizukage has her reservations. A Kage must always be professional even with a so-claimed fiancé. Did you see how worried she was for Naruto-kun when she came? It just shows that, Tsume explained, and Yugao nodded. I think that Naruto-kun wants to spend time with us more than anything else, but he also has his dream that he's fulfilling. Besides, since when does the Inuzuka matriarch have reservations? Sometimes I'm surprised that you don't ever grab him from his desk and fling him off to go F him or something, Yugao said, and she turned to see a thoughtful glance from Tsume and sweet dropped. You wouldn't really do that, would you? Yugao asked. Silence reigned for a few minutes and Yugao shook her head at Sum before the toe laughed and leaned further against the couch. We're just a couple of idiots, aren't we? Looks like I'll have to step up my game then, Sum said and Yugao nodded. Though she still had her own reservations, they weren't as strong as before and she really just wanted to see if it was possible for herself to at least try again. Edge of Konohagakure. Kisame and Orochimaru looked on across the wall of Konohagakure down at the destroyed village. Orochimaru licked his long tongue from left to right and snickered. Kakuku, the village has definitely seen better days, I must say. Whatever did it must really have done it like it meant to. I can honestly say that it has never looked better, Orochimaru said and Kisame widened his teeth around his mouth. Well then what are we waiting for, Orochimaru-san? Let's go and catch us a Jinchuriki, Kisame said and Orochimaru nodded with a sure and sick smile across his face as the two raced into the village. Back with Naruto. Naruto looked out from a balcony at where he had been standing and noticed the various houses and green pastures that overtook the snowy landscape outside. Naruto had been told that a barrier had been erected to protect the populace from the harsh weather of the mountain. It made Naruto wonder just why they had situated themselves in this mountain, but he never bothered to ask about it. Sighing for who knows how long, Naruto touched his swords and decided to strike up a conversation with them. So how does it feel to be home? Naruto asked and the five in the usual circle opened their eyes and glanced at the outside that their master was allowing them to see what he was seeing. I really don't know how to feel. Strangely, I feel almost nothing. You would think that even I would be overjoyed, but there is a lack of enthusiasm about this place, Fukun said getting a nod from Sira. I agree. It's all too stiff now, especially Nura. He was never so condescending before. I wonder what changed with him. Well, granted we've only been gone for like 2 or 3 millennia, so that seems to be quite a drastic change. Still, in that little amount of time, it's been like this for as long as I'm sure we can remember. However, was I the only one who thought that Kami-sama was the one who changed the most? Yugisa asked and everyone else agreed. Now that you mention it, she was a lot more humble than the last time that we had seen her. Well, maybe humble isn't the word. Maybe more self-aware is what I should say. Kami-sama seemed to be distressed over something, but I couldn't tell what it was. Hey Reiga, you felt it, didn't you? Tyron asked and Reiga shook his head left and right. It had concerned him to a great deal about her most recent behavior, but no one could place it. I can at least still see that Tai is still the sadistic bastard that he always was. For some reason, I almost never liked him. He's shifty. Not like he screams, hey, I'm a bad guy and I'm going to burn your house down and kill your family, shifty, but more of the whole, I know how to break you apart and laugh while doing it, shifty. Ugh, he still weirds me out, Sira said shuddering while Naruto narrowed his eyes. So between that bastard Nura and the creepy Tai, who is strongest? Naruto asked, not really caring that he was talking to his swords, which made it look like he was talking to himself. All the swords glanced at each other and blinked between each other before Reiga cleared his throat and spoke. There is no easy way to answer that, Naruto-sama. It's like this, Nura-san and Tai-san are the best of friends. Tai-san is maybe what you would consider Uchiha-san during the academy. He was considered a prodigy and like Uchiha-san he really is a prodigy in his own right. It was said that his strength equals that of the third-generation Dragon Lords. Each warrior caste system is based on a person's abilities. From birth they are chosen whether to be warriors, advisors, celestial guards, and dragon lords. The warriors are those who train and fight to serve and protect the lands. Reiga started and Naruto decided to sit down and enjoy a cool breeze for once as he listened to Reiga and the others explain all of this to him. The advisors, Naruto-sama, are the ones who help Kami-sama make her decisions. Sort of like your council back in your village. They don't train, rather they spend their time studying to better the lands as a whole. Now then, the Celestial Guards and Dragon Lords are virtually the same thing. They are the elites, the ones who rise from warrior class. The only difference is that the Celestial Guards are those warriors personally chosen by Kami to the La. The Dragon Lords are selected by Kami and her advisors. Now the Celestial Guards have the power to use essence. Think of it like chakra for you, only like a lot more potent and lethal, Sirius said, getting Naruto to gulp at anything more powerful than chakra itself. He really did have to wonder about such a thing being possible, but he continued to listen. Now the Dragon Lords are the warriors that go through a rite of passage. One that not many are able to complete. But if they complete it, then they gain a dragon form. It holds no purpose except for La's sake and grants them the ability of flight. Now the reason that Rhaegar said it would be difficult to answer is because in the first time of 10 millennia since the Third Great Light-Dark War that Nura and Tai were so talented that they were given both the Celestial Guard and Dragon Lord by Kami-sama, making a new class, the highest and most powerful class, only directly being outpowered by Kami-sama and her children. They were the two that created the Celestial Dragon Guards. Since then, no one has been able to be that strong. The only ones who ever came close, borderline equaling it, were Kami-sama's children. Sorry, but that doesn't include the Rikudo Sennin, which is where some of the Uzumaki, and all of the Senju and Uchiha lines come from, Yugisa said, and Naruto sighed as he leaned against the wall. It never was enough, was it? He was the Hokage of Konoha, and yet there were just people that were stronger than him. Kyuubi believed Sato to be stronger than him, and the way Nura spoke made it seem like Sato was stronger even him. How in the hell could a guy like that be controlled? It didn't seem possible. Hey wait, then how did the Rikudo Sennin beat him? The way these people talk about him, it's like the Rikudo Sennin did what they all couldn't and kicked the geyser from Konoha to Kumo in one night, Naruto said, getting everyone to glance at each other again. Yeah, we have no idea either. We weren't around at that time. Rhaegar is probably the only one who would know, and if we recall, then he was blasted away at some point, so, lot of good that's going to get anyone, Tyrant said, shrugging his shoulders while Rhaegar showed a face of dejection. Well, thanks you guys. I'll leave you alone now. Talk to you later, Naruto said, and finished his discussion, and just in time too, as he felt a presence behind him. Naruto quickly grabbed one of his kunai and aimed it at the person before it stopped just shy of their tea. Naruto widened his eyes to see Kami's surprised face at the act of hostility. I'm sorry, I had knocked, but you weren't answering. I came in and noticed you weren't in your room and saw you out on the balcony. Did I startle you? Kami asked, and Naruto just shook his head before he pocketed his kunai and looked forward. Nah, just rather cautious when it's the life of a shinobi. But hey, why is your voice like that? Naruto asked, and Kami tilted her head to the side. Like what, if I might ask? Kami asked, and Naruto decided to clarify. Your voice. It's not all godly and heavenly like everyone else's. It's still very beautiful, but it's not fulfilling in identifying you as Kami. No disrespect. Kami tilted her head a little further to the side before nodding. Oh, you mean like this? She asked, making it more to what Naruto was expecting. The blonde nodded eagerly, and Kami just smiled. Oh well, I don't use that voice very often. I only use it for issuing my authority or giving someone punishment. Nothing more than that, if you must know. Also, because some people say that my voice is intimidating, Kami said, still smiling, but Naruto could see the hints of sadness behind that smile. Say, is there something else I can call you? Naruto asked. Excuse me? Kami asked while Naruto sheepishly rubbed the back of his head. Well, calling you Kami all the time seems a little out of place, that's all. I hope that's all right, Naruto said, and Kami nodded. Yes, that is fine. No one has ever really suggested calling me anything else since I pretty much hold this world together, but if it suits you then go ahead, Kami insisted, and Naruto just agreed to it and decided to come up with something, which he really couldn't at the moment. The two sat in silence, and in the end, Naruto couldn't come up with anything before he blinked. Nari-chan. Naruto said like it was no big deal, and Kami turned to him. Nari. She who goes far. That's quite strange. What kind of man is this? Kami thought to herself, but she had to admit that it didn't sound so bad. Nari-san it is then. I'll treasure that name. The first name that someone didn't see me as Kami and gave to me. Thank you, Naruto-san, Kami said, and Naruto just nodded. However, he couldn't stop his own curiosity from taking place. So, would you mind telling me your history with Kyuubi-chan? I know that is out of the blue, but in truth this wasn't some kind of social call. This has its importance. I know Kyuubi-chan tried to hide it from me, but she fails to see that I know a lot of things about her. Even things that she tries to keep buried. What is it with you two? Naruto asked, and Nari sighed while getting to her feet. It's because of my mistake. No wait, not mistake, because I could never feel it was like that, but rather the consequence of my actions. Naruto-san, some things need to be buried, Nari told him. Naruto glanced at her before mentally groaning. First Kyuubi tells him to get answers, then his swords tell him that whatever he wants to know then he should go to Kami for it, and now even she won't tell him. It's a conspiracy. It all had to be. Everyone hated each other just for the purpose of pissing Naruto off. Alright then. I guess I will go to bed. Looks like this thing does work after all. It was nice meeting you, Naruto responded, getting a raised eyebrow from Nari. Normally any human would have pressed the issue, seeing as how they made it all the way over here, which by the way wasn't humanly possible in the first place. Naruto Uzumaki, a strange human being. Well, I think I will retire. It was good talking with you, Uzumaki-san. Hopefully we can do this again. Naryu Ofkami said as she walked out of his room. Naruto blinked before a small smile came across his face. He then shrugged his shoulders, collected himself, and went to sleep. Also just in time too, as another knock came to his door. Come in, Naruto said, and he quickly noticed Nana and Ni looking at him. Hey Naruto-kun, do you know what we're thinking? Nana and Ni asked while Naruto's eyebrow twitched. That Naruto must get some sleep because he will have a busy day tomorrow, and that it will be one of the few times he gets to sleep on the most comfortable bed in the known universe. Naruto asked while Ni shook her head and Nana closed the door. Well, you're so half right, Ru-to-kun, they said together, and Naruto groaned. Yep, no sleep tonight. Well, maybe. Naruto had been practicing his genjutsu. Maybe he could Sharingan the two female Beiyu to allow him to go to sleep. Next morning. Yeah, didn't work. Naruto yawned while Nanabe and Nibi looked as well rested as ever. Kasumi was pouting for some reason about a rigged bet while Kushina was consoling her. Kyuubi seemed to be the only one that really wanted to be done with the entire thing having to do with Kami and the rest of the people that had lived with her. Naruto could see it in her eyes, but he chose not to say anything about it. Well, it's a shame that you all have to go, but I hope to see you again. You were great company. Stop by anytime, Nari said, getting Tai to give a creepy smile and Nura a very pissed off scowl. No we don't, Nura mumbled underneath his breath. Tai jabbed him in the stomach, getting the Dragon Lord to growl before he snorted and walked off. Yeah, sure thing, Nari-chan. It was a great stay. Oh, and here, take this. You probably have lots of them, but I just made it for the hole that comes to your crescent moon necklace. Think of it as a thank you for the hospitality. It's a pretty new gem that I was able to create from the earth near Konoha. It took some work, but I got it. Apparently it's very rare. Someone called them red diamonds. I'd like you to have the first one of my project, Naruto said while someone scoffed. Fair. Like Kami-sama would dare to sully her hands with such. Thank you, Naruto-san. I appreciate it. I will wear it proudly and without opposition, Kami said, taking the vastly shiny and dark red jewel before carefully fitting it into her necklace. The necklace shined brightly from the jewel while some of the other people were just shocked that she actually accepted Naruto's gift so readily. Well, if that's all, can they go now? Seeing his face any more than I have to is revolting, Nura said, grumbling, getting an twitching smile from Nari. She shook her head and apologized for Nura's behavior, to which Naruto just waved her off that he had been dealt worse. Oh, actually, can you do something for me? I'd like to see my father, Minato Namikaze. Yes, during a Konoha incident, Naruto said, and people murmured to each other. Kushina seemed stunned at the request while Kami frowned. Naruto-san, even those like us must respect the laws of my little brother. He takes his job very seriously. I can't just revive someone close to you as it would. Nari paused as Naruto shook his head. Not for long, a few minutes, at least 5 or 7. That's all I ask, Naruto said, and Nari just shrugged. She walked off into a room and after 5 minutes came back. Shinigami says that you get 7 minutes and nothing more. Is that all right? Nari asked, and Naruto readily agreed. It was then that Nanabe widened her eyes and shivered. Nana, what's wrong? Kyuubi asked, and Nana dropped to the ground and panted. Fu's in trouble. She's fighting someone right now and she's calling on a lot of my chakra. I don't know who it is, but I think I'm about to. Nana didn't get to finish as she puffed out of existence. Everyone blinked while Naruto growled. Nari-chan, can you please hurry? This is something that I need to get done, Naruto pleaded hastily, and Nari nodded, going through a few unknown hand signs. She s the ground with her hands and immediately Minato stood before everyone. He blinked his eyes and looked over the tall structure until his eyes rested on his son. Naruto, how are you? Haven't seen you since you tried to take of Kyuubi's seal. How is the village? Minato asked with his usual grin. It's very good, Dad. I became the Rokudaime Hokage, Naruto said, getting a look of pride from Minato. I see, well that's great for you. I knew you could do it, son. I never doubted you at all, Minato said, getting a nod from Naruto. Minato then turned his head and his eyes widened slightly as he saw Kushina staring at him. Hey Kushi-chan, Minato said, and Kushina just smiled and walked up to her former lover. Minato, I'm glad to see you again. Even if it's just for this short time. I just want to do this, Kushina said, and she proceeded to bonk Minato on the head. We're never doing something like that again, Databane. Kushina shouted, and even some of the beings had to admit that the scene in front of them was kind of funny. Minato rubbed the sore spot on his head and agreed before he turned back to Naruto. So, what did you need me for? Minato asked. Naruto coughed and scratched his cheek. Yeah, Two-chan, I'm going to need you too. Pull up your shirt, Naruto said, and some of the females blushed at those words. Nari included. Is this what they call yaoi? Nari thought to herself. Minato just raised an eyebrow and did so. He raised it, allowing Naruto to see the same tetragram seal this he had on his father. What about it? Minato asked, and Naruto placed his hand on his father's stomach. Sorry, Toucan, but I'm going to need that other half, Naruto said before seals appeared on his fingertips. He quickly s Minato in the stomach and shouted, Fuinkai, Gyakuryu, seal release, reverse flow. Minato winced, and he knew what Naruto was doing as the blonde dug into the tetragram seal, then quickly, and fiercely, pulled out the yin half of Kyuubi's chakra from Minato's stomach while proceeding to link it to said Bayu, allowing Kyuubi to have full access to more of her power. The chakra flowed around Kyuubi before it then settled. Kushina and Kasumi could feel her chakra output increase as well as her reserves. Two-san, there is going to be a good reason for this later. I don't know if I'll be able to tell you when, but it will be for a great benefit that I do this. Trust me, Naruto said, and Minato coughed while he held his stomach. He just chuckled and patted Naruto's shoulder. Of course I trust you, Naruto. You're my son. So that's what you want. You wanted the other half of Kyuubi's chakra that I sealed into myself. How did you know about that? Minato asked before he felt his mind answer his own question, getting him to glare at Kushina and Kyuubi, who whistled. He sighed and smiled. Well, it was good to see you guys again, but Naruto, do you mind if I place my hand on your head? I want to see what my granddaughter looks like, Minato said, getting a gasp from Naruto as Minato placed his hand over his head and closed his eyes. He wasn't a Yamanaka, but he could at least do this much. Minato could see a lovely baby girl with black hair, blue eyes, whisker marks on the sides of her cheeks, and wolf ears on her head. He chuckled and nodded. Yep, she's a cute on. Take care of her, son. I hope I get to say hello to her at some point, Minato said before Nari came up to him. I'm sorry, but that's all the time I can offer. You must go now, Nari said, and Minato agreed. Be seeing you later, son, Kushina. Bye-bye, Minato said before he completely vanished. Naruto sighed and turned back to Kyuubi. How does it feel to have the other half back? Naruto asked, and Kyuubi smiled, feeling around her body. Oh, it feels great. Better than great, actually. This is just amazing. I forgot this feeling, but alright. I can now do some things that I couldn't do before. Thank you, Naruto-kun. I know who I can test this power out on, Kyuubi said as she quickly puffed out as well. Kasumi and Kushina bowed and then left as well. Well, it was nice meeting you, Nari-chan, but like I said before, I would like to hear you sing sometime. You have the most beautiful voice I have ever heard, Naruto said and left, not noticing the smile on Kami's face. Fair. The hell is wrong with that idiot? Calling Kami-sama by a stupid name like that. HMPH, he's lucky that I don't kick his to the damn ground, Nura said, walking off. Besides, it was his time to leave anyway. He had to continue his search for that troublesome student of his. Soon everyone dispersed while Kami stayed near where Naruto had been and fingered the jewel in her necklace. Very interesting indeed, she thought before she decided to get back to her own works as well. With Fu. Damn it, Nanabe, where are you? Fu cursed as she blocked a kick. Fu coughed while Kisum chuckled as she rolled across the ground. Come on Nana-san. I would like this to be entertaining for me, Kisum said with his heavy sword on his back. Fu growled and stood to her feet. She quickly took a breath of air before she shouted, Hiden, Rinpungako no Jutsu, secret, hiding in scale power technique. Fu blew a load of large Queni power at Kisum which blinded the Akatsuki members slightly from their brightness as they landed in front of his eyes. Kisum snickered, but he was deterred as Fu quickly pulled out her large orange scarf and unfurled it. How the hell was this happening? She had known that a large chakra level was in the village and it had been tailing her for the longest time. That's why she had led it from the village into an open space. It just had to be the monster of Kiri, didn't it? Man, she had some of the worst luck imaginable and that's how she ended up here. Fu threw her scarf to the ground and quickly formed her hand signs. Suten, Suiruden no Jutsu, Fu shouted, launching a large water dragon at Kisum. The shark man chuckled before he raised Samehada in the air. He swung it down and the sword ate the chakra mixed with the water, getting it frisky as its tongue rolled out. Samehada chuckled while Kisum smirked. Not bad, Aju-chan, but now let me try one. Suten, Goshokuzame, water release, 5 feeding sharks, Kisum shouted as he s the water in front of him. Instantly 5 water sharks sprang into the air and converged over Fu's person before the Nanabi Jinchuriki cursed and tried to dodge them all before one s into her body, sending her into a tree. Kisum chuckled and moved in for the K before Fu readily opened her eyes and channeled Nanabi's chakra. Quickly 2 wings came from behind her as she shot off into the air. Kisum looked overhead and quickly placed Samehada on the ground. He noticed Fu try to fly away back to the village, but that wasn't going to work. Suten, Samehasa, water release, water shark missile, Kisum hollered and a very thin shark flew into the air with fast speed and s against Fu's stomach. Fu coughed from the heavy hit and turned back to Kisum. Doing a quick turn, she dive-bombed him and quickly bit her, though then formed a hand sign. Kisum noticed the waters around him raise into the as they compressed into Fu's hand. Fu hollered as she held out her fist with a large array of water seals forming around her. Suten Fuan, Kyodai Shigekiha, water release seal, colossal wave shock, Fu shouted at the top of her voice as she took out a kunai. Soon the water turned into a large image of Nanabi as Fu gripped her kunai and s her body against Kisum as the ground exploded in water. It ravaged the trees and Fu panted while she brushed a hand through her cheek. Her victory was short-lived as she widened her eyes to see Kisum clap. Very good Nanabi-san, but my Samehada absorbs chakra. Let's see you try to do that again to him, Kisum said while Fu growled. She got to her feet and stumbled before she took her sealing things and unfurled them. Sealing is my life. It's my art. If I s then you s with me. Fu shouted as a tail appeared behind her. Sorry for being late, Fu. Let's take this a down, Nanabi shouted and Fu agreed, just happy to hear her partner's voice. Fu instantly disappeared in chakra and Yuki, and in her place was a mini Nanabi figure. Kisum seemed surprised by the action before he chuckled. Yes, that's it. Let's have some fun. Kisum and the Bayu-powered Fu charged at Kisum. Her wings flapped repeatedly, giving her the edge that she wanted. She quickly kicked Kisum across the face with her foot, sending him flying. He slid across the ground, then s into a tree. Kisum coughed and looked up with a maniac grin on his face as Fu was already in front of him. She lifted her foot and s him further into the ground. She wanted nothing to remain of this guy's body. The dust soon settled and both Fu and Nanabi were surprised to see only a puddle of water. What? I know we got him. Fu shouted while Nanabi looked left and right. Fu followed her to look around based on her partner's instincts. Fu duck. Nanabi alerted and Fu quickly did so and dodged Kisum's shark skin, getting a look of surprise from the Akatsuki member before Fu twirled over her hands and pushed her legs into Kisum's stomach, launching him into the air. Kisum snickered to himself while he finished some hand signs. Suten, Amezrikoha, water release, rainwater shark wave, Kisum called out as a large spray of water shot into the air around Fu. It came into Kisum's palm and he launched it at her, sending down little shark figures on her person. Fu growled, but made no move to dodge them. They all ran their course and s into her body while Kisum backflipped into the ground. He looked on at the damage, but he only noticed Fu standing tall. She opened her mouth and glared at Kisum. All right, you want big. I'll give you big. Nanabe, let's go. Bijudama, Fu shouted as she launched a wave of chakra and Yuki at Kisum. The Sharkman chuckled at the incoming attack of danger. He took Samehada and quickly dashed to the side as the tailed beast bombs into the forest, releasing a wave of chakra out in front of Fu. The Jinchuriki panted while her cloak dissipated. She looked up and noticed Kisum wasn't in sight. She grinned, but that grin turned to a grunt of pain as she was kicked in the stomach and sent flying into a tree. Again, not bad, but you'll never beat me. But I'm not adverse to see off one of your legs so that you can't get away from me, Kisum said while Fu growled. She leaned up against the tree while she smirked. You know, I really don't like you guys. But you're worth my best attack. My own attack that I have made. Fuinjutsu, Gogyogen, Sealing Art. 5 Elemental Sphere, Fu shouted as she s the multi-elemental sphere directly into Kisum Samehada. Kisum widened his eyes as he was engulfed by the large light, and a huge explosion followed that pushed Fu through the trees and sent her crashing against the ground. She panted again and looked up to see nothing in front of her. Take that, you shark freak, Fu said, grunting from some pain to her body. She wasn't able to see Kisum snicker before he swung Samehada into her body. Fu gasped from the hit as Samehada L her chakra from her body. Kisum s her against the ground and then flipped her over before s her into a tree. Kisum pinned Fu to said tree while Fu coughed. How did you? Simple Mizu Bunshin girl. You aren't even in my league, Kisum said while Fu passed out. She slumped over Kisum's shoulder while he picked her up. Now then, time to find Orochimaru-san and get out of here. Hey, that was easy enough, Kisum said to himself with an unconscious Fu around his shoulder. Oi Fu, wake up. Get up right now. If you don't get up, we're s. Do you hear me? Fu. Nanabe shouted. However, Fu couldn't hear her partner, and so Nanabe groaned and had to work on healing Fu's injuries enough to where she could get conscious enough for Nanabe to yell her head off at her partner. Kisum made his way through the woods riding the high of his recent Jinchuriki takedown accomplishment before he felt a huge chakra signature. It was very, very huge. It was also coming in fast, a little too fast. Kisum dropped Fu to the ground and he still didn't even have to defend as he was kicked across the face again as he was sent flying against the trees again. Kyubi landed to the ground and picked Fu up. Looks like I made it in time. You rest. You've done enough. Who knows how long you were fighting this guy, Kyubi said before she noticed Kisum coming out of the trees. Well, if it isn't Miss Kanari-san. How pretty you are today. Are you going to get in my way again? Kisum asked while Kyubi grinned. She tightened her fists, but didn't take up any stance in particular. Kyubi and Kisum waited for the other to make a move. Here I go fighting you again. Now you're being stupid enough to try and think you could take our Nanabe Jinchuriki while the village is being repaired. You have balls, I'll give you that. Now you're about to lose them, Kyubi said and blurred out of sight. Kisum narrowed his eyes at this new speed as he hadn't seen Kanari use it back in the war, if you could call it that. Kisum swung Samehada at her body, but Kyubi slipped under the blade across the ground and punched Kisum in the gut before following up with a strong upper kick to his chin. Kisum was sent flying back before he swung Samehada again while in the air. He cracked a smile while he saw Samehada s into Kyubi's body. He quickly rebounded and s Samehada away, taking a seemingly large bit of Kyubi's chakra with it. Kisum raised an eyebrow at the red color. He then saw Samehada's tongue roll out of its mouth and pant. Oh, what's this? Samehada likes your chakra. It says that you taste like a fine wine fit for a king. Aged to the perfect degree, Kisum said, and he noticed a tick mark appear on Kyubi's head. She wasn't old. She also didn't age, damn it. This was all B. Well then let him have some more of me, Kyubi said as she took charge back at Kisum. She took out a kunai that she had pocketed and jumped over Samehada to get Kisum in the back, which she did. Kyubi was much faster than before. Her chakra was now complete and so was her form. Oh, this felt wonderful, and it was all thanks to Naruto. Kisum backflipped away from her, but Kyubi didn't relent as she grabbed Kisum's legs. She punched him across the face, forcing Kisum to send Samehada into the air as Kyubi kicked him away. She smirked at her attack, but she felt Kisum's chakra flare. Suten, Bakusui Shoha, water release, exploding water colliding wave, Kisum shouted as he poured a large flood of water from his mouth as it made its way towards Kyubi. The nine-tailed Bayu smirked and did her own hand sign. She didn't have a name for it and she didn't really care. She just blew a large amount of fire from her mouth and allowed it to collide with the waters. A very heavy steam rolled over them both and Kyubi watched Kisem's form disappear. Gonna hide like a coward? Kyubi asked. Not like a coward. Like a shark, Kisem's voice echoed until Kyubi felt her body against Samehada. She felt more of her chakra away from her body as Samehada seemed to take lots of joy in it before it seemed to be feeling something, but it wasn't sure what. Kyubi rubbed her torso and shook off the sudden weariness. Other than that, she was as fit as a fiddle. Losing a bit of chakra aren't Kanari-san. You might let alone save this girl, Kisem said. He noticed Kyubi chuckle. A red chakra cloak covered her body and Kisem frowned as nine tails appeared behind Kyubi. Oh, trust me, it's not for me. It's all for this village, Kyubi said as she charged at Kisem. The man swung Samehada at her, but Kyubi dodged that attack and her foot into his nose with the extra power as she sent Kisem flying. More of her chakra was taken from that assault, but Kyubi didn't relent. She quickly manifested 5 of her 9 tails as they came over her head. Kyubi opened her mouth and the Bijudama formed before she dropped it onto her hands. She gently let it float out in front of her before it started to compress even more until it was the size of a marble. Kyubi caught it and quickly threw it forward while only saying a few words. Bijudama Myakudo, Bayu bomb pulsation, Kyubi shouted and the marble landed near Kisem and instantly exploded in a heavy blast that would have made Deodara proud. Soon Kyubi charged through the dust and smoke. She her body against a fully grown Samehada who was protecting Kisem with its body. The two were sent flying until they bounced across the ground and into the ground. Kisem coughed while Kyubi came up to him. You really are something else, you know, Kisem said with a cough. Kyubi snorted before she raised her hand over Kisem's head and it clean off, allowing it to fall to the ground. Instantly she heard a wailing from Samehada for its master. Kyubi walked up to it and grabbed it by the hilt. To her surprise, it didn't try to take her out. Rather, she felt all her chakra that was stolen return to her body. Samehada then purred as its tongue rolled out. Well, aren't you a cute little, sentient sword thing? Well, I'll take you. Don't you worry. We'll have a great time together. So I taste like wine, do I? Strange. Naruto-kun said the same thing during one of our times, Kyubi said. She only hoped that she hadn't been a little too reckless due to her pregnancy. She then walked over to Fu and picked her up over her shoulder. Good thing you did most of the fighting for me, or this would have been a bigger pain in my than I would have thought. Now let's get you out of here, Kyubi said to the unconscious Fu as they walked away. Neither was able to see Zetsu in the distance. With Yugito. Come Yugito-san, you have to wake up. Sasuke shouted as he clashed with Orochimaru using the Raijin no Ken. The snake-sanin chuckled and licked his lips as he saw Itachi right behind his brother. Seeing both Uchiha fight together wasn't something that he had been expecting, but he welcomed it. Far away from them was a severely hurt Yugito who really looked like she had seen better days. Yugito coughed up some bee against her body while she tried to lean up. Orochimaru's attack against her had come out as a surprise when she was running damage control of debris with some of the other shinobi. A snake had consumed a few of them and Yugito knew it was after her. She had tried to run, but Orochimaru had appeared out of the snake's mouth and more or less her with Kusanagi into the ground of a lower level where they had fought and where Orochimaru had lived up to his name of an S-rank criminal. Yugito thought she would have been done for if not for Sasuke and Itachi arriving. Kakuku, come on Sasuke, Itachi, let me see how much you two have grown, Orochimaru said as Itachi kicked his head into the air. Sasuke then did a hand sign and blew a large fire at Orochimaru's figure. The flames overtook his body and engulfed him as he dropped to the ground. Itachi and Sasuke could only see a replacement corpse burning and both cursed before Itachi felt Orochimaru's presence shoot to Yugito. Orochimaru appeared with his sword in his mouth and lunged for Yugito. The Nibi Jinchuriki took her remaining strength and managed a very painful backflip away from Orochimaru as the Sanin into the ground. He then across the ground while Sasuke's hands said ground. Chidori Nagashi, Sasuke shouted as his lightning raced across the field. Orochimaru dodged it left and right while Sasuke launched another wave of it towards him. Orochimaru chuckled and was ready to dodge again, but he grunted in pain as two kunai him in the wrists and stuck him to the wall, allowing Sasuke to hit him with the full attack and not miss. The lightning against the wall, making it explode, while Itachi caught Yugito and lugged one arm over his shoulder. Sorry for the trouble, Yugito said while Itachi shook his head. You couldn't have known. Don't worry about it, Itachi told her. Yugito just nodded and coughed, signifying her injuries. They were already starting to heal, but it would take some time. She was just happy to have her partner at her side. It was then that they all heard Orochimaru's voice and turned to the source. Futon, Daitopper, wind release. Great breakthrough, Orochimaru called out, and a fierce wind blew through the underground systems against the wall, sending Itachi, Sasuke and Yugito flying into the air. Sasuke growled before he finished his hand signs. I'll make it so that he never sees the light of day. Kaiten, Gunkyu, Sasuke shouted, unleashing a large blaze ball towards where Orochimaru was supposed to be. The fireball exploded against the wall as the three landed to the ground. Yugito stumbled before Itachi took out a soldier pill and handed it to her. Yugito took the pill instantly and felt her chakra return to her body. She stood up while Sasuke and Itachi readied themselves for another fight. Mandara no Jin, formation of 10,000 snakes, Orochimaru called out as he opened his mouth. Everyone could see a mass number of snakes crawled towards them as they opened their mouths and spat out blades. They sped towards the three Konoha shinobi while Sasuke stepped forward. Itachi, take Yugito and step back, Sasuke said while Itachi grabbed the Nibi Jinchuriki and backed up. Hey, what are you doing? We can't leave him there. Yugito shouted, and Itachi knew she was right, and he looked back to see Sasuke with his eyes closed. Itachi gasped, and so did Yugito as Sasuke shouted. Amaterasu, Sasuke hollered, and the black flames of heaven's judgment launched at the snakes, burning them all to the ground. Orochimaru frowned at the sudden action and snorted. He quickly drew away from the incoming fires and pulled out Kusanagi. He sped for Sasuke, and the two clashed together as Orochimaru snickered. Give it to me, Sasuke. Give me your body. Let me unlock the secrets that this world has to offer with it, Orochimaru said with Sasuke glared at him. You're an eyesore. Get lost, Sasuke responded as he fell back and with his feet launched Orochimaru into the air. Orochimaru spun around and quickly maneuvered his body and dive-bombed Sasuke with his sword still in his mouth. He was ready to piece Sasuke's body before he watched Kusanagi get deflected. He widened his eyes to see a purple skeletal figure. Susanoo, Sasuke shouted before the figure its fist into Orochimaru's body. Orochimaru to the side and dodged the attack, but Sasuke's eyes follow him. They were open. After all that hard training, he had now unlocked it. He could see it all so clearly. Now drop Sasuke said as he consumed Orochimaru in the black flames. Orochimaru screamed against the pain of being on fire and Sasuke smirked, but it didn't last long until he saw Orochimaru open his mouth. Sasuke grimaced as Orochimaru pulled himself out of a former body and raced off. Sasuke growled as he saw Orochimaru race around him. He quickly gripped his sword while Orochimaru smiled. So you came to protect this village, have you? I only need your eyes. I don't need you, Sasuke. You or Itachi will do. I will have one of you. Orochimaru declaring his agenda while Sasuke closed his eyes. Vanished before the Uchiha. Raiten, Raimeikan no Jutsu, lightning release. Thunder Scar Wave technique, Sasuke shouted as he the ground with his sword, unleashing a large spiraling thunder whirl at Orochimaru before it overtook his body and him into the wall. Sasuke huffed and dropped his sword. Itachi patted his shoulder and Sasuke turned off his Mangekyo Sharingan. However, they all heard Orochimaru's lasting laugh. I still have many resources, Sasuke-kun. You aren't the only way. There are plenty of ways to go about this, Orochimaru said, and just like that, his chakra signature was gone. Nice work, Sasuke, Itachi complimented, and Sasuke just nodded and leaned back with a heavy sigh. Yugito dropped to the ground also while Itachi folded his arms. For them to come after us while we were still vulnerable, Akatsuki is getting desperate. Sasuke, when Hokage-sama returns we will need to increase the guard patrols. Something tells me that Akatsuki is directly in the center of their plans, and the only main thing keeping them from their objective is Konoha and Kumo at the moment. Itachi, Sasuke, Yugito, we got here as fast as we could. 4 Anbu dropped to the ground while Sasuke snorted. Not fast enough. That was almost too damn close, Sasuke said in an irritated tone before he stood up and grabbed the Raijin no Ken. He quickly packed it away while Itachi and Yugito followed him out of the room while the Anbu were already starting to run damage control over the area. Yugito cursed and balled her fists. I need more training. When I get back to the compound I will take Kurenai-san and Anko-san's advice. I will ask for Naruto-kun to officially train me. I'll even ask him to take me as his apprentice just like Fu. To think that he was toying with me all that time. Damn it, Yugito said under her breath as the three walked off. With Orochimaru. Orochimaru landed on the outskirts of Konoha's walls and chuckled to himself at the village. Right behind him came Zetsu, but he spotted no Kisame. So I take it that the Nanabi Jinchuriki was too much for the little monster of Kiri. Orochimaru asked while Zetsu snorted. Yes, looking at the mysterious redhead woman. We know nothing about her other than the fact that she is crazy strong. Strong enough to go toe-to-toe with Kisame anyway, White Zetsu said, and Orochimaru glared back at the plant man Akatsuki member. It's not wise to lie to a snake. I know Kisame's not but very well if you think that it's a secret. I really don't care. So, how is our project coming? Madara claimed that he needed it completed so badly and I was more than willing to cooperate what with the tons of corpses that he provided for me, Orochimaru said, and even Zetsu grimaced at what he might have been talking about, but they didn't say anything and just let Orochimaru grin madly at Konoha before making a quick U-turn to report his failure of capturing the Nibi or Nanabi Jinchuriki. Somewhere. Have you forgotten, you miserable impish whelp? Are you really this weak to be controlled? I demand that you not take any more orders from this worm and eradicate his soul. We are already behind schedule for this. Now snap out of it. The Sword of Darkness, Raijin shouted at the blank staring Sato. It had been like this for more than 2 years. How could Sato no break this lowly thing called Genjutsu? It was a load of s. Raijin prided itself on being able to choose its masters. She never wanted to be wielded by anyone without a purpose. Her power was only bestowed upon those who could take control of their fates and shove it up Kami's a. Right now, she was wondering if she made the right choice in masters. Wake up. Snap out of it. Curse me out like you normally do. Smile. Anything. Raijin hollered in her lone mindscape. Sato didn't respond. Damn it all to hell. This is no better than being stuck in that stupid sealed rock for the last 5 millennia. Sticks. When you wake up I'm going to give you the ear lashing of a lifetime, you worthless god. HMPH, Raijin said as she folded her arms in anger. A knock came to Sato's door and the son of Kami opened the door and he noticed a woman with blue hair waiting for him. Hey move, you're a newcomer. According to recent reports, we have just found the Sanbi somewhere near here. Let's get going, she said, and Sato followed her out of the room. He grabbed Raijin, but couldn't help but sense that this was not his purpose. What was he doing then if this wasn't it? He didn't know. Would he ever know? And if he did know, then what would he do about it? That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.